Sup, my name is Ryu for the Yugioh Welcome to Coffee Time, your Monday morning discussion video releasing and eating, because now you have cereal in the morning-o. Now, with that corny-ass joke out of the way, today we're going to be talking about sleeper decks. Decks that haven't got enough attention, and usually when they do, the prices skyrocket, and then everyone goes, oh my god, what is that? So, I'm going to talk about a few decks, give you an explanation what sleeper decks are. So this way, when I recommend a deck and I say it's a sleeper deck, pay very, very close attention to it. And trust me, you will love it. Now, before this gets started, this is actually Yu-Gi-Oh! Related, so I'm not going to wait till the update section, which is at the very, very end. This is actually Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. So I need to say it now, and I apologize for not just jumping into the discussion, but it is regarding Wednesday's pack opening. Technically, we can go get it. But the problem is, since I kind of fractured my ankle, I'm not supposed to be walking on it, I may not be able to make it out to actually buy the box and open it. So I'm sorry if that disappoints anyone. It's a touch and go basis, and I'll see how I can actually get there Wednesday if I can. If I can, box opening. If not, I'll figure out something for Wednesday. But just wanted to get that out of the way. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. So, sleeper decks. Stuff like Dynamis and Yang Zing are sleeper decks. Decks that haven't gotten attention. Dark Synchro in the TCG was a sleeper deck, and now it's just fully getting realized. It's a deck that basically kind of sleeps. No one really pays attention to it. Infernoids are a great, great sleeper deck, if I do say so. And now, you can't really call stuff like Blue Eyes or Metalfoe sleeper because everyone's aware about it. A sleeper deck is comprised of something that most people are not paying attention to because they just don't see it as being any good. Dynamics are a perfect example because the deck is fucking scary at what it can do. Let me break it down for you. You take a deck like Dynamis, which is currently budget tier, and the only expensive thing that the deck will need to get its hands on, I guess later down the line if you want to include it in a build, is a Treat Toad. Or 2 Treat Toads. The whole point of it comes down to is the deck right now would literally cost you $20. And you're probably sitting there going, well, why is no one picking up Dynamis? And that's a good question, I really don't know. I honestly feel they are the pendulum sleeper deck of the entire Arc V era, where basically they're not getting the attention they deserve, but they're so goddamn good. Abyss Dweller, power gain. You have access to synchros, exceeds, fusions, ways of protecting your pendulum scales, just like Pendulum Call, but permanently because of the Drago Slayer. You don't have to go that route, but you can go that route. You can make Cyphering Lord Omega if you so wanted to, but no one really does in Dynamis because it's not needed. The Treat Toad thing, they're water machine types, so that opens the door for Treat Toad and Cyber Dragon Infinity together on the same board because Bahamut Shark is an enabler that gets you to it. Just sit there and I want you to think about that. A current budget deck can get you Treat Toad and Cyber Dragon Infinity in one turn. The one thing I will say, and why they are still probably sleeper, is they lack true draw power. That is the one thing that just sucks for them. They get kind of stopped by back row, but they could play out of it. So that's not really all that bad. Now, why is Dark Synchro considered, in my eyes, in my opinion, a sleeper deck? Because most people didn't pay attention to it. It was sort of what Teledad was, but now back again 8 years later. The only thing is, it's not running Dark Arm and E-Tele because both cards are limited, and it's just on the Synchro version. Old friends like Malicious and Dark Rapper and Armageddon Knight that were using the Teledad era find their way back here. And Plague Spreader too, so there's that. And of course there's the ever so controversial Level Eater. I say it that way because it's the truth. You're taking an aspect of Hyper Librarian that was normally so commonly used with something like Synchrons, and then putting it here to use it as a draw engine. And with the Lord of Darkness at 3, I saw this coming a mile away the second I was saying a Lord should not come back to 3. Mark my words, it will create something. Something will pop out of the dust, and I was right. Dark Synchro in the TCG is not the most consistent thing. I'll admit that much. But what happens when there's a sheer amount of people playing it and it starts topping? It is topping regionals right now. The real test will be if it becomes a degenerate problem by topping a YCS. And if that YCS top leads to more people going and gaining momentum on the deck. It's a really interesting situation because Cyframe Lord Omega, that deck can make 3 of them in one turn and rip out every single card in your hand. But Ryu, if it's a Synchro deck, why doesn't it run Quasar? Because I'm going to be completely honest when I say this, Quasar is not nearly as good as it used to be. Negating 1 card over ripping out 3 from your opponent's hand, there's a big difference. Now, recently I did do the deck profile on Dark Synchro, so I'm not trying to plug my own videos again, but it just kind of just for to mention it, you could just go check that out and I can link it to you. What other decks there are sleeper decks? Because this is something that most people have not talked about. Ying Zing. Ying Zing are a prime example of a deck that has always had potential, and then Konami just decides to steroid inject them with a Solemn Judgment, and that's something we do have to talk about on probably Let's Talk on Friday. Why does every time Konami gives something like really good support, it's always a fucking Solemn Judgment? I digress though, I digress, I'll leave it for Friday. But honestly, it's annoying. I'm happy as a Ying Zing player, but 9 branches of the Ying Zing, searchable by a level 5 Synchro, and it's a deck that already had potential, but now has way more speed than it used to and can be combined with Metal Foe, and now comes out of sleeper territory into possible meta. Yeah. This isn't like Dark Lords, where basically they just overhaul the entire thing, or Six Samurai, where they overhaul the entire thing. This is something that just completely came out of, giving them 2 cards that was a sleeper budget-tier deck, cards that were $1 a piece or $5 max, that most people didn't see true potential in, and it just is the breakout star of 2016 for Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, I said it that way, I sound like MTV, god damn it. But it's true. It's damn true. When you have something like Ying Zing, you have something like Dark Synchro, you have something amazing like Dynomist that most people do not grab onto because it's not quote-unquote mainstream enough for most people. It's something like the Utopia deck where not even I was paying attention to it, and it's still really good. And all it really takes is someone getting it to fully work in a situation that most people can't come up with. No disrespect to everyone, we're not all great deck builders, and some of us build amazing decks in certain categories and can't do it elsewhere. It just happens. It's not to be disrespectful. I'm trying to keep it real. Like, I probably can't make a really good DDD deck at the moment because I barely understand them, to be, honest. I know how to shut them down. Do I know how to use them? Hell no, because that deck is complicated. And that's a good thing, because it's fun to learn. But I guess you could count DDD right now as a sleeper deck, because most people just disregard it as, it missed out on its time. That's probably going to be the one deck that just goes, boop, I'm here, bitch, what's up? See, the problem is, when most people don't see the full potential, I guess Heavy Sams could be potential for that too, but they still need a little bit more to really push them. There's a lot of things that they're kind of lackluster on, and I'll talk about that when I do the deck profile this week. Yeah! Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, when you get in a sleeper deck situation, and most people don't grab onto it because it's not mainstream, not everyone and their mom is deck profiling it, not everyone and their mom is playing it at your locals, your regionals, your YCSs, your worlds, your Nats, it becomes a situation of, is it just a one-time thing? Or is it something amazing that I'm not currently seeing? And that is the beauty of a sleeper deck, but also the scariness, because I really do think Dynomist will at least top a regionals, which is kind of scary because when you first see them, and like when they first got support, you're like, okay, this is pretty cool, but it's going nowhere. And now it's just so much goddamn potential to break out, especially with Tree Toad, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Good for Dynomist, bad for everyone who has to play against it, because I think anyone in their right mind who sees a Cyber Dragon Infinity, a monster that spits out a Tree Toad, and a freaking Tree Toad plus back row and pendulum skills, yeah, that's not a field I really want to enjoy. And over time, it gets stronger and stronger. Yeah, I don't really want to ever deal with that, to be fair. I guess if we're going to talk about another deck that was a sleeper, I would probably say Magispecters. That kind of got outshined by a few other things. There's plenty of examples, but at the end of the day, you should always pay attention to sleeper decks, and let me know what you think. Is there any sleeper decks you're keeping an eye on besides Dynamis? Besides, what I mentioned throughout the video? Is any decks you just want to have more respect than they do now? Let me know in the comment section below. And here we go with the update. I was recently in Okinawa, and we were doing a video shoot, and the tide came in and took my ankle. Now, I had already sprained my ankle, and I didn't think none of it for a few days, and well, it blew up like a balloon, so that's pretty much why we may not be opening a Duelist Pack, not because we can't afford it, not because no one doesn't want to open it. I really don't care about it, but I would open it for you guys, and just to say, what the fuck, kind of moment. It's fun to open booster packs. It's not an expensive box, but at the moment, it's very touch and go. When I record this, it's very, very early Monday, so things are not looking good. If it does happen that I am incapable of travel to get there and make that happen for you guys, I will try to fast track something else out, so this way we're not just dead in the water on Wednesday. There may only be one video Wednesday, there may be two, I don't know. I'm going to try my best to make it there and do it for you guys and just toughen it out, but I can't risk my, my whole ankle. I'm not going the surgical route, let's put it that way. So I just want to say real quick, because we were very, very close to 8,000. Hell, we may be at 8,000 by the time I post this. It's amazing to be here at this point compared to where I was a little over a year ago. And I cannot wait till we hit 10,000 to show you the video we're working on now. It's kind of crazy, and that's pretty much part of the reason I was in Okinawa. We may not be able to use that footage now, but we'll see. I just want to say thank you guys so much for the continued support. Tomorrow morning, I'm not sure when, because I like to sleep in a little bit, is Dark Magicians. You guys have been patient. I wanted to give you the best deck profile with the best duels that I can make, and it's been a hell of an experience. It's been about, I want to say like 8 weeks working on the deck. It's been the longest amount of time next to Blue Eyes I've worked on a deck, and I have a lot to say about it, and you'll see why. But before we go, just want to say thank you, good night, and talk to you guys in the morning with Dark Magician. Till then, have a good night. See you later.